Welcome to Small Caps. My name is Kerry Stevenson. Today I've asked Paul Burton, CEO and Managing Director of TNG. ASX code is TNG. They have the Mount Peake Critical Minerals Project up in the Northern Territory. Lots of announcements coming out, funding, development underway. And last time I spoke to Paul, I said, when more news comes out, let's get you back. Paul, thanks for coming back to Small Caps. Great to see you.
Thanks very much, Kerry. Great to see you too, and thanks for the opportunity of presenting TNG again. Thanks.
Well, there is some news out, and I think the one I wanted to start with was the appointment of Neil Biddle as non-exec chairman. Now, Neil, I think, was the founding, or was he the one that found the project in the first place back in the day?
He's certainly involved in the discovery of Mount Peake, but he was the founder of Tennant Creek Gold and TNG back in the late 90s going into the 2000s. So he's had a very significant history and knows all the projects that we have. And I've known Neil since 2006. He's a highly respected resource professional with significant and relevant experience to TNG as we're positioned now. We've evolved now to a point where the experience that's gained by Neil since he left TNG is directly relevant to our strategic plans and growth plans for the future. So he's all about shareholder value. He's a very good mentor and excellent geologist. And he's also very commercially astute and sees the potential and benefits in acquisitions for shareholder growth, which is really where we're at the moment.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to ask you, because I think Neil was with TNG up to 2011. I'm talking to you now in 2022. Why is now an important time for Neil to come back on, and what was it that attracted him? Did you reach out to him, or did he reach out to you, or was it a mutual coffee date?
Yeah, no. We've kept in touch, of course, over the years, and he's had some terrific success, and that's because of his focus on achieving growth and achieving success. So, and firstly, look, his appointment is directly to do with our overall strategy. Now, we're in a very interesting time in the company, and we're suddenly seeing the fruits of all of our team's hard work, particularly with a conditional 300 million, 800 million from the three separate countries that we've got, Australia, Germany, Korea, along with the progress from our engineers at the integrated site at Mount Peake. But for the company to continue to progress on the project finance front, our market cap remains much lower than we would have hoped by now, despite these achievements. So we've been looking at ways to correct this to make sure the project is financeable. And sorry, Kerry.
Yeah. I wanted to just take you back for a moment and say you've had financing approved. Is that right? From, you said, Germany, Korea, and one other, and that's up to 800 million. Can you talk to us about what that is and what the parameters are for that funding to come in?
Yeah, there's conditional funding, and the conditions are on completion of the other permitting that's still required, and completion of the other parts of the whole project finance process, which includes the equity as well. But so from the Australian side is from the Export Finance Australia, EFA. They're very strong in the critical minerals area, and this is a critical minerals project. In addition, we have the Euler Hermes group, which is part of the German government-backed bank in Germany, and that's to do with the German involvement that we've had, that great relationship that we have with SMS, and indeed Tycons as well, and indeed other Europeans that are involved, such as DKSH, one of our Offtake partners. And Korean K-Shaw come in because of the Offtake agreement that we've had with Woojin, and the very long relationship that we have with them, and indeed with some of their major suppliers, who include Hyundai Steel and POSCO. So these are very strong indications of support of this project. The due diligence that they go through is not insubstantial. It's certainly took many months to complete, and I think it's a big tick of approval at the stage that we're at the moment with the project.
What state are you at with the project? What's the Mount Peake status right now? When we last spoke, 5 months ago. There was a lot of work going into the project, but where are you at right now with the project?
Well, it's our flagship project, and it's progressing extremely well, as we've seen from our recent announcements. And I probably don't need to elaborate further than to say that Clough, as our lead engineer, is progressing their work through to an EPC for us. This is a terrific asset for the company to have this group involved, and they're working very closely with SMS and TICONs, which are all part of the whole process plant of the company, of the project. And that's on the backdrop of completing the extra environmental work that we had to do with bringing the process plant down to Mount Peake mine site. Look, that's been completed now, all of that work, and has been written up as we speak. And then the other side of it is getting the project finance, which is our focus. So there's a three-pronged approach. But look, it's in very good shape, the project. And, look, we're just super keen to see this progress now, because now that we've got some of this conditional funding, there's a whole series of other domino effects that can happen. And this is also along with it's our core focus, but along with our other business aims of developing the vanadium redox battery side and also the hydrogen business. So all of these are going extremely well. I've never seen the company have more prospective projects and business aims than it has in the past.
Is it quite complex to keep those different areas all going at the same time? Because you talked about the hydrogen project along with Mount Peake, along with the redox batteries. Which one's the lead status, I guess?
Oh, look, Mount Peake, for sure. But the use of hydrogen is certainly one that we've been exploring, and we expect some news flow on this, because all projects now have to reduce their carbon footprint, and all projects have to be demonstrating that they can actually achieve that. And one of the ways that we can do that is by the use of hydrogen in our process plant. So look, there's a lot of work that's been going on that, and we have to roll with the punches that we get on changes in direction and new bills that come in from governments on how projects are going to get up. If you don't have the right credentials, you're not going to get funded, and one of them is to be green, and we want to be as green as we can. So certainly hydrogen is part of the overall project process. And again, with the vanadium redox batteries, we intend to have one or more vanadium redox batteries down at site, because they are the storage batteries of the future, particularly for big projects. And we're progressing those rather swiftly now, because we now have a site in conjunction with the Charles Darwin University in Darwin to hook up a battery and have that as a showcase to demonstrate both to governments and to other investors on the viability of using vanadium redox batteries. And we've got big plans for that rollout. So it doesn't take away a lot of our focus. It's being run really by one or two people in the company. Our team of engineers carries on working directly with Clough and SMS to get all that working. SMS, as we announced a few years ago, we also have a joint venture in process with them on a plasma hydrogen production. Look, that's a separate business completely. That could actually give us the ability to roll out plasma hydrogen production for our own aims, so for selling to other companies. So we would have the license to use that. So that's an interesting one. These are all plans for the future, and since my role of being managing director, I'm all about the future of the company. It's all about setting stepping stones in place so that we have a very solid growth phase for the future.
Paul, you also got another project. I noticed that there's the Sandover lithium project. So that's kind of something new and an additional potential benefit for shareholders. Talk to us about the rationale behind that.
Yeah, look, this is very exciting, and it harks back to some of the comments I made about the project financing strategy that we have. And really and truly, look, while we can see continued growth and news flow around Mount Peake with the engineering, development and planning and all the other aspects that I've just mentioned, one additional way to get some re-rating of the TNG share price is to have some significant exploration results. And this is why for some time I've been keen to pursue other commodity types around Mount Peake, and we have been looking at a number of them. So the Sandover lithium project sprung out of this initiative and is one that has significantly potential for some early exploration success. And of course, Neil brings a wealth of experience in lithium-bearing pegmatites, and it was all part of this strategy to approach Neil once the acquisition was announced. So, but in addition to the potential for lithium, we have the potential for nickel and platinum group minerals in the basement magma chamber of the Mount Peake intrusive. Now, this is one that I know the Northern Territory government is very, very interested in. And I've had very fruitful discussions with the director of the Northern Territory Mines Department, Dr. Ian Scrimgeour, who's a highly respected geologist and a very good colleague of mine. And he's been responsible for much of the reinterpretation of the prospective parts of the Northern Territory, which include the Arunta province, which is where our Mount Peake project is, and relates down to where the Sandover pegmatite province is. So the acquisition of Sandover, plus the co-funded award for some nickel drilling at the Mount Peake project itself, could both provide some exciting results, which could translate into an increase in TNG share price and market cap, and accordingly translate into achieving our financial goals. So there's the strategy for all of that.
Okay, so the strategy is Mount Peake is still your main focus, but there's some added, I guess, value add with this Sandover lithium project. So that's purely right now you've found something, you're going to be expanding on it and focusing on that. Is that a good reason for Neil to come on board as well because of his understanding of that area?
Well, not so much of that area, but Neil's got a lot of experience in the whole of the Northern Territory, but it's his lithium development experience and recognising lithium in pegmatites, I think, which will be very, very valuable for us, for his acceptance to come onto the board. So I think it's a good time for him, and it's a good time for us to have that in conjunction as a follow-up for the Sandover acquisition. I mean, it's a strategy that I brought to the board a few years ago, and we managed to implement this year, really once the borders were open. So it's one that's been on the cooker for a while. And for our listeners, perhaps I could make a comment, because there has been some commentary in the background to do with the situation that we find ourselves in at the moment. But it is very common for resource companies to enter into these types of commercial transactions to acquire prospective ground. Would be silly not to. If it wasn't us, then someone else would take it.
Yeah.
This is the way resource companies, large and small, work. And those with no resource experience are naive to think otherwise. So it was a very good opportunity for us, and fitted in with the overall strategy that I've been keen to implement.
Paul,
in the case of Sandover, I could actually mention something, Kerry, that we've already been approached by a large overseas group for a joint venture on the ground. So the benefit of the acquisition is already being felt.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's that approach is already underway to do a joint venture. Would you consider that?
Oh, look, it's very early days, and I can't say too much about it. But look, it's attracted a lot of interest, and I think it just demonstrates the right direction that we've gone down for the Sandover area.
All right, Paul. There's a bit of an elephant in the room, and I did ask if it was okay. Look, there's been a 249 delivered to the company, which is to call a meeting for potential removal of board members. I know you feel very strongly about, I guess, the work that you have done. Talk to me about where has this come from, and could you please make a comment on this action?
Yeah, Kerry. Well, obviously, this is a very unwarranted distraction, and certainly a big interruption for us, and interrupting some of our areas of work. But we have a very committed, hardworking team, so we've just been pushing on, regardless of this. It came out of the blue, and has been bought by people with no reasons apart from wanting to get rid of me, John Elkington, and basically the other people on the board, to take board control. These represent about 8% of the company, so we've got 92% of shareholders that we also have to look after. And TNG has high-value assets and excellent prospects, and handing control over to people that represent 8% is not in the interests of all shareholders. So we have to act as directors in the best interests of the company at all times, and not just for the select few. So Our conclusion: this is completely opportunistic, and it's a takeover of control, and that could wreck the company, and certainly all the very solid hard work and status that we're in with everything to do with the Mount Peake project and our other prospects. And unfortunately, I can make this. I would like to strongly make this comment that the way they've approached this has encouraged terrible vitriolic commentary, both about me and my team, and also, concerningly, to others outside of the company, including some notable public figures such as Northern Territory government ministers, amongst others. So I think this type of action is insightful. It doesn't improve the situation, and frankly, must be an embarrassment for the individuals making this action against TNG, as it's certainly not the representative of all our shareholders' views.
Well, why do you think that it's come about now, Paul? Are these people that have got experience in big projects, or because I think you said just before that they're coming in, they want to get rid of the board and put their own people on the board or themselves on the board? Could you just? I think it's really important for people to understand why now, and if they get rid of you, are they well versed to take a project of it, because it's quite a complex project, Mount Peake, isn't it? And all of or I guess all the moving parts. Are they?
Yeah, look, absolutely.
Are they competent enough?
It's a big project, and it has a lot of work moving parts. As you're saying, we've got a lot of major companies working with us on this, which are good relationships. But to answer your question, no, there's no demonstrable experience in the people that they've advised they'd like to put onto the board. There's no board experience, there's no resource experience, and certainly there's no listed company experience. So that's why we conclude that it's an opportunistic move. And if we looked at the timing of this, comes directly straight after the second announcement that we made on the project finance. So our conclusion is that that's the reason. It's a reason for control of the board, control of the company, well, and the company's in a good position. Unfortunately, what it does is it damages the company, damages things that we had planned. Some things have got to be put on hold. We've got lots of people that are just sitting by the sidelines waiting. We had another potential deal on one of our projects, one of our other projects, that fell by the wayside until the results of the 2.9s. So there are unestimated consequences already from the action that's been taken, and we just find that it's deplorable for us to be facing this at this time when we're actually kicking some good goals.
You are kicking some goals. When you say it's opportunistic, is it? Do you think on the back of announcing funding? Is it? Do they? I don't want to put word. Look, I'm not sure how far I can go with this, Paul. But would they, if they've got no resource experience and no listed board experience, they haven't been on boards before, is what I think you've just said. So are they just there to grab the assets and clear them out? Is that possibly what they're thinking of doing, rather than bringing the project to fruition?
One thing that's been missing in all the commentary that we've had from them is that there's no plans from them on what they want to do with the project, the company, etc. There's been really no plans, so we don't know what their plans are. But you're correct. I mean, as I mentioned, the action arose straight after the second announcement that we put out from funding. It was from Euler Hermes when we put that one out, and it came directly after that. Which, if we looked at the whole scheme of things, we expected NAIF funding to occur after that as well, and we also had the K-Sure one that we announced. So it's opportunistic. That's a time when we're actually achieving announcements that maybe they've been complaining about to date. So we're achieving good things in the company. Company's in good shape. We've got good money in the bank, got good prospects, good team. So it's opportunistic.
And I think that if I was looking at, because I've known you for quite some time, Paul, and you have been diligently working through this, and it is complex, but it's like you've now got all the ducks in a row. You're actually getting into the development stage of this, and there's light at the end of the tunnel, if you like. So this comes, I guess, as a really unwelcome distraction. When's the meeting, and do you feel like you've got good shareholder support?
You're absolutely right. It's a very unwanted distraction. And, we've built the project up to this stage methodically and maintaining a very, very professional attitude to everybody that we work with, including government agencies, the traditional owners, all the companies that we have involved from overseas, all the people that have been major investors with our company, and all the people that we deal with respect to project finance. So these relationships have been built up over many years, and I would hate to see that wrecked, hate to see that gone. The meeting's on the 20th of September, unless it's withdrawn prior. And we expect to have a very good support.
Well, I do wish you all the best with that, because at the end of the day, I've said this before to people, it is all about people, and you have to have an understanding, especially when you have a complex project such as Mount Peake, and you've been in it for a while. And Neil Biddle coming back onto the board must give you, that's another piece of support for you, isn't it? And another, I guess, it's almost validation of where you've gone for Neil to come back and support.
Well, I think it's also the fact that Neil's got a very good understanding of taking projects through the next stage into development and financing, and he's got all the network and contacts there that we can expect to see some additional benefit from his being involved with the company at this stage. He's certainly involved in some other companies, which is it's all about networking in the resources industry. And it's a strong benefit, and it also represents, where he did his own view of the company, his own view of the project, and concluded that we're obviously fit for him to join.
Well, that's because it's getting to, as I said before, you've done the foundational work. It's now getting into that development side of things. Lots of moving parts, but you've got them all working in the right direction. So Paul, Neil, say hi to Neil for me. I wish you all the best with the meeting, because everybody knows how much of your time and effort and energy you've put into this project. But as always, people know 3 reasons that they should be sitting up and taking notice of TNG right now.
Yeah, right. Well, I've got 4 actually, Kerry, not 3 today.
Oh dear. So, dear. Well, I let him get away with that, ladies and gentlemen. 4, not 3. Okay, we'll allow 4.
You with 4. So, firstly, as we mentioned and discussed, the appointment of Neil Biddle brings a significant gravitas, I'd say, in development experience to TNG. With his network and financing capability, and his experience in developing projects, I expect to see some good news flow in this regard for his involvement with the company. So I think it's a big accolade for us. Secondly, Mount Peake is a critical minerals project. And as we've seen recently, this resource sector is attracting a lot of attention from governments and financiers globally. So for example, we're getting our funding, conditional funding that we've announced of 800 million. It's not insignificant. Thirdly, in TNG, you will get exposure to vanadium redox batteries, which are a battery of the future, and also hydrogen projects, which have to come on if we're going to keep the greenhouse effect down and also keep our carbon footprint low. And lastly, on 0.4, there's potential for a significant re-rating of TNG stock based on not only the above, but the added potential of early exploration success with our Sandover lithium project, and also the co-funded drilling at Mount Peake for nickel and PGMs. So it's an exciting time for the company.
Lots of exciting times for the company. I wish you all the best with that 249. Go and chat to Paul. He's a very nice guy to chat to, whoever's got this 249 out there. I think it's a great time for you, Paul. I really appreciate you coming on and chatting to me today. Maybe next time we'll get you and Neil and do a double act as we go forward later this year. But thanks so much for joining me on Small Caps today.
Okay, thanks very much, Kerry.